So what was the sexiest medieval weapon on the tier list? Stinking up the F tier is the club. Extremely basic and cheap to produce, and you could usually get a good bonk out of it on your opponents, and adding spikes inflicted additional damage, but it just doesn't get the juices flowing as much as other medieval weapons. Kicking into the D tier is the flail, an agricultural tool turned weapon that was used by the peasant armies of the Hussites in the early 15th century, and it was extremely cheap, required little training, and also like the club could produce a really good bonk, which is why these peasant armies used it. Clapping up the C tier is the spear, an absolute staple in human history, as we've found that penetrating someone with a large member with a sharp point on the end is actually rather effective. It's the old reliable, but it's not the 10 out of 10 baddie we need. Accompanying the spear in the C tier is the short bow, another staple in human history, as bows are rather good because you don't have to be near someone to kill them. However, it's just missing that little bit of spice that we need that may be provided by weapons we mention later on. And that later on is now, as coming in at the B tier is the crossbow, an excellent ranged weapon to use on the defence such as during a siege, and while it did have a lower rate of fire than the bows, its penetrating power was excellent and required very little training to use, as you just had to pull a trigger. And it was even condemned by the Pope in 1139 for being hateful towards God. And B for battle axe, a brutally terrifying savage weapon, especially the two-handed ones, because imagine a giant man with a two-handed axe ready to cleave you in half. That would be absolutely terrifying on the battlefield, with it also having the versatility to be a one-handed weapon where you could add a few spikes to it. Now I've put the mace between B and A tier, because it's got the brutality and the raw sex appeal. It could crush a man's chest in beneath their armour, but look hot as fuck in doing so, as these things were often lavishly decorated. In the A tier is the sword, a medieval icon and the weapon of the knight. Elegant, yet effective. It had variations of one-handed ones, two-handed ones, and it evolved over time as armour improved and you needed a better weapon to cleave through your opponent. Another weapon in the A tier that came about as armour improved is the Warhammer. You've got your hammer side to twat someone silly through their armour, or you could flip it around to this sharp point and have the penetrating power of a group of lads in Magaluf, or you could use it as a hook to get your opponent off balance. And in the S tier is the polearms, a generally very broad term for a wide array of two-handed shafted weapons. But that's what the medieval battlefield was for, swinging around giant sharp members. They rose in prominence as armour making was reaching its pinnacle, as they provided a wide array of utility. You had blades to cut, hammers to bonk, and sharp points to penetrate. And finally, super duper S tier, the English longbow, a national treasure, Henry V's love child. Nothing beats it.